Welcome back to Dickin' Around Outdoors. Good to have you join us. Now, the fine folks over at Cast Iron Wednesday on YouTube put out a monthly cooking theme, and everyone puts out videos and talks about their recipes that they make in cast iron. Well, this time they decided it was going to be pasta. Now, I couldn't just throw pasta on the stove at home because that's just not what we do on this channel. So I decided that we were going to do pasta at the campsite. And a little bit different today for us is we're doing this in a traditional Dutch oven, not a camp Dutch oven, because we're only going to use bottom heat. And today we are going to make deconstructed mushroom lasagna. So stick around, let me show you what we're doing. First thing is, we're going to get this Dutch oven warmed up. So we've got the Sandhill crane going over top, if you've never heard them. He's just circling. Anyway, no self-respecting mushroom lasagna, deconstructed or otherwise, would be good without mushrooms. So the first thing we've got to do is we've got a heated up Dutch oven. We're gonna fire the heat up just a little bit. We're gonna put in about 3 tablespoons of olive oil. Let that heat up for just a second. You can already tell we're not very level here. Then we're going to drop in 12 ounces of mushrooms. Saute those till they're nice and brown. Got a couple different kinds here. We're just going to let them go for 4 minutes or so at first. And then we'll give them a stir and go for about another 5 to 7 minutes. All right, the mushrooms are done. We're just taking those out. We've lowered the heat on the pan a bit. We're going to add a little bit more oil. We're going to saute some shallots and garlic. Then add a bit of flour. Let that cook for a minute or so. Then we're going to add milk and some of the other ingredients to start making the sauce for the lasagna. So let's let the pan cool while I put the thyme with the mushrooms and get on to the next step. So we're going to go ahead. We're going to toss in the remaining couple tablespoons of olive oil that we had measured out. And in go shallots. And 3 cloves of garlic, or however much I happen to take out. Looks close to me. And we're just going to saute this briefly, say a minute. Then in goes the flour. Minute's up, flour. And again, we're just going to cook this for about a minute. Just kind of get that flour cooked down with the butter, get that raw flour taste out of there. This is going to create the base or the sauce for our lasagna. Let's let that cook up just a second. And you don't want to have too much heat on this. You don't want to burn this flour. You don't want to burn your garlic. So this is just a nice lower heat. It's just cooking in. Then we'll add the other ingredients. Okay, that is looking good. We've got a nice sort of nut brown color on it. So now we're going to put in milk. And this is whole milk. In with the milk goes a 1 3/4 cups of water, salt, pepper, and then we've got kind of an interesting ingredient that goes in. We are going to zest a little bit of lemon juice or lemon peel into the mix, about 1/4 lemon's worth. Can't say I'm a great judge of that, but I'm going to call that perfect. Then we're going to just crank this up. We want to get this bubbling. After a bit of time, because of the wind, we've now got a boil, gentle boil in our milk mixture. Now we're going to add some sour cream that we've watered down. The recipe calls for creme fraiche, which we didn't have, so we just watered down some sour cream. We're going to stir that in. And once we get this in, then we construct the deconstructed lasagna and get that ready to cook. So let's stir this in, mix it up nice, and then get some noodles in there. And this will just, of course, give it a little bit of a tang, thicken it up a bit, try to incorporate it so it doesn't get lumpy. Okay, we've incorporated that sour cream in as best as we can. The next step is to take about half of our noodles, and we're going to spread these across the bottom. These are the no-bake noodles. They're oven ready, I guess is what they're called. So we did not have to boil these ahead of time here at camp. So we're just going to strew about half of these across the bottom. Then we're going to press those down. We want to get these under the liquid. We top that with a third of the mushrooms. On goes half of the remaining noodles. And those get pressed down. Again, we need these under the liquid so they cook. We're going to turn the heat down a bit at this point. Half of the remaining mushrooms. And then we're going to top with the rest of the noodles, put the lid on, and let it cook for about 15 minutes. We don't want this boiling hard, we just want it to simmer. So double check that and make sure you're not overheating as this cooks. You don't want to scald the mixture, you just want it to simmer and get those noodles nice and done. Let's get those under the water, or under the mixture, I should say. We've turned our heat down, and of course, you know, cast iron doesn't react immediately, so it might take it a little bit to slow down. Get our lid on. Turn that down and set our timer. Our 15 minutes of cooking time with the lid on is up. So the next step is to go ahead and take the lid off. We're going to just lift and separate the noodles. We want the sauce to get up in between all the different noodles. Make sure everything gets a great coat on it. Then we're going to just leave the lid off. We're going to thicken this sauce up for about 8 minutes. And then we've got some pretty cool, we hope, way to finish this recipe off. So we will check back in about 8 minutes. Okay, our sauce is nice and thick. We're going to go ahead and turn the heat off. And you remember those mushrooms that we saved? They are going back on the top. We're going to just sprinkle those around. And then we are going to put on 4 ounces of mozzarella cheese. And in the original recipe, that 4 ounces of mozzarella cheese goes under the broiler. Well, you can imagine, we're here at camp, we don't have a broiler. But I've got something I'm going to try that might just do the trick. So, let's get this cheese on, and let me show you what I got in mind. We don't have a broiler at camp, but we've got something almost as good. We've got a propane torch. So I'm gonna go ahead and try to brown this cheese with my propane torch so that it is just so brown and tasty. So let's see how it works. Oh yeah, it's working already. Cheese is melting, the cheese is browning. I think this is absolutely gonna do the trick. Man, does that look good. Now we've got a little bit left to top that off. We're gonna go ahead and we're gonna sprinkle on some Parmesan cheese. Ooh, boy, that worked well. Parmesan cheese. And we're gonna grab that lemon that we zested earlier. We're gonna put a little more zest on top, and this is ready to go. So clearly this isn't something that you're gonna do when you're backpacking, but for a well set up overlanding rig, I think this is easily doable with the tools you carry. So I encourage you to give this one a try. Okay, let's see how this tastes. First off, let's see how it comes out. Great, we've got no sticking. Smells phenomenal. This smells so good. That melted mozzarella on top, the Parmesan, those sauteed mushrooms. Ooh, man. And I gotta say, if you're a red sauce fan, this is gonna look a little dull, but I guarantee you it's not gonna taste that way. So let's see what we have. Oh boy, that is really tasty. It's not overpowering, doesn't knock you over. It's subtle, it's earthy. The cream sauce is got a little tang to it, but not overpowering at all. The lemon adds a nice little fresh boost to it. I'll tell you what, make this at camp. This is really good. All right, this is really tasty, but I'm gonna try this. I'm gonna take some of that lemon that we zested. I'm just gonna put a couple squeezes on top of that. Just gonna try that. See if it brightens it up even more. Absolutely. So take that lemon that you zested, squeeze it on there. It brightens it up. It doesn't taste like lemon, but that acid kind of, is it an uplift? I don't know what you call it. But anyway, that's definitely the way to do it. This is really, really good. So as always, thanks for watching. If you haven't subscribed, please take a moment to hit that button in the lower right-hand corner. Take care, and we'll see you outdoors.